So I need to be honest with you guys. I have been going through a lot personally, mentally, emotionally, everything you could possibly think of. And that's why I haven't been um, in such a good mood all the time. I know you guys haven't seen much of me, but I have been really busy. I've been dealing with a lot of stuff. Also, uh, you see these moms on here doing updates all the time, and they're all happy go jolly. My thing is I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna act like I'm happy. I'm not gonna lie and act like I'm not gonna put a front on for you guys. I can try, but obviously something's going on. But basically there's a lot going on, and I'm going to explain to you guys why things haven't been so great. Basically, this entire time has been rough, and I just feel like I should probably tell you guys. Not that I owe it to you guys, I feel like this is something that I need to share because I'm probably not the only one. But it's going to be hard. I don't like showing emotion. I don't talk about my feelings. I keep things all to myself. Unfortunately, that's how I grew up. I keep things to myself. I bottle them up. But once I do hit a breaking point, I do realize that I do need help. I do need to go to somebody to talk to. I do need to explain what I'm going through, that I'm not okay. I need to go to my NCOs, everybody I work with. Once I hit a breaking point, I need to tell them, like, hey, what you see is not how I am at home. What you see is not how I am at all. Like, I put on a front, I put on a smile, act like everything's okay. Like, I'm this happy person all the time. Because I do not like letting people see that I'm struggling. I don't like putting on that front as if I don't know how to handle my own struggle, I guess you would say. So, basically, I guess I'm going to start from the beginning and let you guys know what had happened. So, and it sucks because I am the only one that does not know everything that happened. I don't know anything that happened, and so that's why it's very hard for me to deal with all of this because I don't know how to deal with it all because I don't know what happened. I am a victim, but I don't know what happened to me at all. At all. I just sit there and hear people tell me what happened to me. So basically, and I know for you guys, people get emotional, like when people do these videos, whatnot, about exactly what I'm going to talk about. People get emotional, cry, whatnot. To be honest, I'm probably not going to show you any tears, nothing. I won't be able to look at myself when I say some of these things, but I just figure it's something I need to share because there might be other stories like this. So basically, disregarding the whole baby mom update, whatever, all my other videos are mostly about. This one is more about me and what I'm going through, what I'm dealing with, what happened to me, and everything. So basically, I had gotten stationed here. I'm not going to say where. And coming up front, right away, I'm just going to mention that this has nothing to do with the military. Okay, it does have stuff to do with the military, but I'm not making any jabs at the military. I'm not going to categorize the military and put it in the same category as this topic because, yes, it happens, but it doesn't happen to everybody. It's my story. It's what happened to me. It's not the military's fault. It's just, this is what happened, and yes. So, I had gotten stationed here in late February, about 26th, 27th of February last year, so in 2015. And it was my very first duty station. I was with Jacob, and so ever since I got here, he had gotten here right before I did, because he had graduated AIT after me, but I had went from AIT to airborne school. So while I was at airborne school, Jacob had graduated AIT and he had came to Fort I'm not going to say I almost said, but it's not that it's this base's fault. I just don't want to share where it's at because it's still going on and I don't want that attention, I guess, for it. So basically, I got here end of February, and so yes, I always hung out with Jacob. We would always hang out with each other, our friends, all that, whatnot. And so one day, this was on a Saturday, we were all hanging out at the barracks, and we were planning on drinking. And so yes, I had my own drink. I am not one to share drinks. I don't take other people's drinks. I don't let people make me drinks at all. What I drink is what I bring. So not that I don't trust everybody. It's one of those things I take precautions, I guess. So what I drank that night was what I had bought myself. So, and first off, I grew up with brothers. I know how to drink. I know my tolerance. I have never blacked out. I have never thrown up. So just beforehand, before I say what's going on, just throwing that out there. So one day, we were all at the barracks. We were hanging out, and then we had a bunch of guys, a bunch of sergeants, I guess, who were living in the barracks down the hall, I guess. They were all having a cookout, so we were all hanging out. We had just met each other, and they were like, oh, come on over, like, we all live here, too. It's no big deal. So we got to meet each other. We just not really on a name-to-name basis. We were just hanging out. It was just one of those casual things, like a neighborly thing, I guess. But then later on, we all went to Jacob's room. So it was Jacob and I and two other friends. And I was the only girl. So then we're trying to figure out what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go, if we wanted to just sit and just hang out. And then we had these two sergeants come up to Jacob's room and say, hey, we're going upstairs. Did you guys want to play beer pong? We're all going up. You're more than welcome to. So we're like, okay, well, we don't really have anything better to do. So why not? So it was myself, Jacob, and our two friends. We all went upstairs to the sergeant's room, and we figured everybody would be there since he made it seem as if, oh, everybody's gonna play beer pong, we're all gonna hang out, whatnot. So we get up there, and it's just us four and the sergeant that asked us, and then his friend. But once we had got there, his friend had left, so it was just us four and the one sergeant, and it was in his room. So then we started hanging out. I didn't really talk to the sergeant because with me being a girl, I didn't feel right just going out of my way to talk to him, especially when I was with Jacob, and I'm still with Jacob. But at the time, it wasn't my place. I don't really care about the guy. I just went because everybody else went. So I was sitting there, and in the kitchen, in the common area is what they call it, I was playing just beer pong with my friend, not beer in the cups or anything, from what I remember. And I was just drinking my own shots out of my own shot glasses, my own alcohol. And as I'm doing so, we're all just hanging out in the common area. And I'm just messing around, throwing the ping pong ball. And the sergeant kept pushing, like, hey, I went overseas and I brought some liquor back and it's from Germany. Did you want some? And I was like, no, like, it's fine. I don't really feel like drinking that. So he kept pushing at it and like pushing the topic. He kept trying to sneak it, I guess you can say. But no, I did not ever drink any of that at all. But from what I remember, that's it. Like, I know it's like leading up to something for you guys, but personally, I have no memory of anything that happened after that. So from now on, for me telling you is what I've heard so far about what happened that night. So all I remember is hanging out during the day for the cookout, hanging out back in Jacob's room, going upstairs to the sergeant's room, playing beer pong, joking around with my friend, and that's it. All of a sudden, I don't know anything. So I guess you can say that's the first time I've ever blacked out from drinking, and it scares me to death because that has never happened before. It's the one and only, even today, it's never happened before. Well, besides that day, but anyways, so from now on, this is just other people's memories, what they've told me. I can't know every single detail because we have court and everything, so I can't say every single detail because I don't know it all. Because that's gonna mess with my story. So when I get called up and I'm asked for my statement, I can't say something that I don't remember. So they don't tell me anything that other people have said. But from what I've heard, that, and this is stuff that I was told by the investigators and all that. So basically, that's all I remember. And then I guess somehow we kept hanging out that night. Everybody was cool. I don't know what I was doing, but I guess at one point I had said something about feeling tired. I don't feel so great. So Jacob had asked the sergeant if I could sit on his bed, lay down, rest while they all hung out. So he was like, yeah, no big deal. So Jacob laid me down, tucked me in with his jacket, whatnot. And then I guess they still hung out while I was there. And then they all smoke. They all smoke cigarettes. So the sergeant had asked Jacob and our two other friends, hey, do you guys mind? I ran out of cigarettes. You guys don't have any. Can somebody go run to the gas station? And they're like, yeah, no big deal. Well, I'll just go. And at the time, they trusted the sergeant. They took his word and they were like, okay, we're going to be right back because it's literally 2 seconds down the street. That is it. So, they trusted the sergeant and Jacob made sure I was fine, told the sergeant, keep the lights on, and he made sure that the door was deadbolted. So, and the music was on. So, I guess when they had come back, the music was not on, the lights were off as if nobody was there, and the door was shut and locked. So I don't know what was running through Jacob's mind, what was going on with our two other friends, what they were thinking, but I guess Jacob had been banging on the door, and I guess it took the sergeant 20 minutes to answer the door, and I guess at that point the sergeant had his pants on, but Jacob was so heated about the sergeant not answering the door with me in the room that he went and kind of verbally attacked the sergeant and started yelling at him, calling him names like, hey, that's not okay, you can't do that because my girlfriend's in here. Well, while that was going on, our two friends, they had looked over at me and seen what was going on. So basically, I'm going to tell you that our two friends had found me with nothing on, waist below, and at that point, Jacob did not know what had happened. He did not know what was going on, but our two friends, they're like, okay, in their mind, they're like, we don't want him to know what's going on. We don't want him to get mad and do something he's going to regret, even though it's not something he would regret, but Jacob would have killed the guy. So they had tried to dress me, I guess, but at that point, one of our friends had to tell Jacob, hey, we can't get her dressed and we need her to get out of here right now and we need to go. So one of our friends stayed by me, kept trying to get me dressed, and then the other friend had went up to Jacob and said, hey, this is what's going on. We need to get her dressed, get her out, and we don't know what happened. We don't trust this guy anymore at all whatsoever. We think this is what happened. Jacob had looked over at me, and this is all from what I've told. Jacob had looked over at me, and I don't know where his mind was at. I don't know what he was thinking. I can't even imagine. But something had clicked, and he snapped. He, I guess, okay, excuse my language, he was beating the living daylights out of the sergeant. He was beating the shit out of him, giving everything he could to this sergeant. And I guess the sergeant was yelling at Jacob, saying, you don't talk to NCOs that way. You don't talk to a sergeant. You don't know your rank. This and this. I'm a sergeant. I'm an NCO. Whatever. He was pulling the rank card. And so I guess somebody had heard all the commotion and had called the MPs, so the military police. And I guess, I don't know what happened next, but I know somebody had carried me downstairs, but we were stopped by the CQ or the barracks guard. Whoever was there had already been told, hey, the MPs are coming. We need to, if these people come downstairs, you need to stop them because the MPs are going to come. They're going to question them and all this. So we had to sit in their office. So it was myself, our two friends, and Jacob. And for some reason, they had sent one of our friends, I think, to his room for something. But they had tried getting me in somebody's truck, and I guess I was throwing up everywhere. They had tried to get me, like, taking me somewhere, so I wasn't in the area whatsoever, that general area. They wanted me out of there. So they were told no, that they had to come back to the office. So we had to sit on the couches and all that. But this is when my memory starts coming back. I remember I was laying on the couch that was in the CQ office, and I was wearing somebody else's pants, which, come to find out after the fact, they were the sergeants. But I had no clue what had happened. I was just so confused why I was laying down. I don't remember how I got there. I don't know what time it is, like where everybody's at, because I couldn't see everybody at that point in my view. And I was wearing somebody else's jacket, which I guess came out to be one of our friends. His jacket, he gave me his jacket. But he wasn't wearing it that night. I guess it was from his truck. But anyways, I remember waking up and I couldn't even tell you how many people because it's kind of blurry in my mind, but I remember there were so many people, both military personnel and military police, criminal investigation, everybody and anybody you can think of. And all I remember is Jacob, I was sitting by our friend, and Jacob was sitting on another chair across the room, and he was just sitting there like this. Like, he was wide awake. He looked like he wanted to kill somebody, but he was not saying a word. He did not want to look at me. He didn't want to do anything. And I was completely confused. I did not know what to think. I didn't know anything. So all I know is I woke up not knowing anything, not knowing how I got there, what happened, where everybody was at, and people were questioning me. Hey, what were you doing this night? Do you know this person? Like, all the 5 W's, like who, what, where, when, why, all this stuff. And I didn't even fucking know anything. I didn't know who I was talking to. I didn't know why I was talking to them. And so I guess after a while, I remember they had the police officers take us, and I didn't know why they were taking us. So all I remember is they took Jacob and our one friend, because our other friend was in his barracks. So it was, at this point, it was just Jacob, this other friend, and me. So they take us, but they couldn't take us all in the same vehicle. So they took Jacob and our friend with the male MP, and they took me by myself with the female MP. And I didn't know where we were going, but they had taken us to the criminal investigation department, so they took us to the office. I had no idea what was going on, so I don't even know what I was thinking. I didn't have my phone, I didn't have my purse, I didn't have anything. All I remember is they had Jacob in handcuffs, and we sat in the waiting room waiting for somebody to get us, and I kept trying to ask Jacob what's going on, what's wrong, I don't know what's going on, but he wouldn't talk to me. Nobody would tell me what happened. Nobody would tell me anything, so we just had to sit there quiet. And then all of a sudden, we get our names called. So they say, Private Wahlberg, stand up. So I stood up, and I went with this lady, and I turned around, and there was my Jacob and his other friend, and they stood up because they had called their names too. So we all 3 got called. they took me into one office. They took our friend into the office across from me. And then they had taken Jacob into another office. But they didn't shut my door quite yet. And then all of a sudden, in like the corner of my eye, I see Jacob yelling, like yelling anything you can possibly yell. And I had seen them tighten his handcuffs, hold him behind his head, and like push him down the hallway, say, "You're coming with us, this and that, you're getting arrested." So in my mind, I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck happened? I don't know. I'm in this room by myself, and I know my friend's in a room by himself, and Jacob just got arrested. Like, what the hell is going on? So, eventually they had somebody come in the room with me, and then also she was like, I need you to tell me what happened last night. And so I told her what I remembered, and I told her, I was like, I don't know what's going on. Please tell me what's going on. What happened? Why is everybody doing this? Why are we being taken everywhere? And then she's like, one moment, I need you to wait here for a second. I need to go grab somebody. So then she comes back with this other lady, which at this moment in time, I'm really close with. I'm so thankful for her, and I go to her for everything. But she had come in, the criminal investigator came in to the office with another female, and she was like, "This is the victim's advocate. She is with Sharp." So in my mind, I'm like, I know what Sharp is. Sharp is sexual harassment. So at this point, it kind of like clicks, like something really fucking bad happened. But I don't know what happened. I don't know like who it happened to. So then I had my statement written, and then they had my verbal statement, right? My written statement, I had to sign and say this is true. And then the victim's advocate, the Sharp representative, had told me, "You need to come with me. We need to go to the hospital." So I was then taken to the hospital, and I had to be tested for so many things. I didn't understand why I was being tested, and I had the nurse tell me, "Hey, we think something had happened to you. Do you feel any pain?" And I told her, "No, like I don't feel anything." And she was like, "Okay." And for some reason, I didn't understand why she was so confused. But they had tested me for everything. And then after that, they never told me results. They never took anything. They kept all of the clothes I was wearing, and all of that. So, yes. And then I don't know what time it was, but then once we had left the hospital, I was taken to my barracks room and escorted to my room personally, and was told, "You need to relax. You need to take it easy. I've already let your chain of command know what's going on, and they will get a hold of you whenever they feel it's right." So from there on, she had left, and I'm sitting in my room by myself, thinking, what the hell happened? I can't talk to Jacob because he got arrested, and at that time I didn't have the other friends' numbers. So I'm sitting there, I can't talk to anybody. I don't know, like I don't share a room with anybody when I was in the barracks, but I couldn't talk to Jacob. I didn't have anybody else to talk to. I did not know what happened. But later we did find out everything. And so I guess I was pulled back into CID, and they had told me everything that happened. They had told me that it is now an open case to where, because the military police was involved, it now has to be going this certain route, and we have to do all these. There's so many steps we have to take. So I had met with the CID again. I had to give my other statement. The statement again to confirm, and I still didn't remember. Even to this day, I don't know what happened, and it sucks. But I went back there and left. I'd given my statement again and left. And that, by the way, at that appointment, she had told me, "You had been sexually assaulted. We don't know to what extent. We just know that this is the case. This is what's going on. We did test you. and the results are still being looked at and all this. And they did test the sergeant. So at that point, I realized that it was me and it was the sergeant. But I did find out that I was the victim. So in my mind, I left that appointment, and in my mind, I was not hurting. I don't know what happened. I wasn't hurting. So no, I wasn't emotional about it. I was not. I never cried. I was just so confused, so like out of my mind. I did not know what happened. And when she told me that that's what happened, but they're still looking into it, I honestly, like, to the bottom of my heart, I believed, hey, it almost happened, but it didn't, because I didn't feel anything. So for the longest time, I believed nothing happened. It just almost did. So I guess I got lucky, kind of thing. Well, come to find out, a few months later, the sergeant had been, all of his statements, he had given about, I guess, a total of 5 statements. Every single one was different. But every single one had more and more details, had more and more truth to it. And I guess they had called me in to tell me that he did admit that he did sexually assault me. So when they had pulled me in and they told me that, I was so shocked, because the reason why I was so okay, the reason why I didn't think anything of it, I never let it get to me, was because I did not think it happened. But I had somebody tell me what happened to me, which kind of sucks, because I don't know what happened. I don't know to what extent. Like they said, we don't know how far he went. It could have just been an in and out kind of thing, but we don't know. We don't know how long it lasted, like anything about it. And I'm sorry if I get into details, but I don't know anything that happened to me at all whatsoever. And then I had left, and I had called Jacob, and I was kind of a mess. I wasn't crying, but I was really confused. And I had asked Jacob, please don't be mad, don't be upset, don't be anything. But I was just told that he admitted to it. And so when they told me that, they had told me, do not tell Jacob. Don't tell him that the sergeant admitted to it. We will tell him on our own terms. And I asked them why, and they're like, because he will go after the sergeant, and he will get himself in trouble. He will get himself kicked out, because he can't go back. He can't continue it, because that's on his own. And so that didn't make sense, because honestly, I would have wanted to fucking go back after that sergeant. But anyways, I guess a little bit after all this, the sergeant, we were all hanging out at different barracks, let me mind you, different barracks. And all of a sudden we heard a knock on the door, and we were at a different friend, so it was me, Jacob, and like 3 other friends. And it was a female, it was her room. And when we heard the knock, it was a really angry, stern knock. And Jacob's like, that's not okay. I'm going to answer the door with you, because, and he told that to our friend. So I'm sitting there watching, and I see the door open, and all I noticed that I didn't see who was there, but I seen the look on Jacob's face when the door had opened, and Jacob looked like he wanted to kill somebody. So I brought him back in. I was like, hey, you need to calm down. What's going on? And at that point, I pulled Jacob in, and our friend had walked outside, and she said, hey, you guys need to leave. So I had held Jacob, and I'm like holding him tight. I'm like, please don't do anything. I don't want you to get in trouble. He pushed me away, not purposely trying to hurt me. He just wanted me. He didn't want what was going on to happen, and he was just pissed off. He did not know how to handle it. So he pushed me away and said, that's the fucking sergeant and his friends, and he's coming back for us. So in my mind, I'm like, that's not okay. We have a military protection order saying he cannot have contact with us at all. He can have contact with me, with any of our friends that were there at that time, at that night. So I had, knowing who was there, I had went up to the door, and At that point, the sergeant was gone, but it was the sergeant's 2 friends that were still there. And I said, hey guys, please leave. You don't know what's going on. You don't know the situation. They're like, yeah, we do. This is our friend. He didn't do anything fucking wrong, and we just came to prove that he never fucking touched you. And I told him, I was like, you weren't there. You don't know what fucking happened. I don't know what fucking happened, but there is a case going on. And at that point, they told me, you're a fucking dumb bitch, and there's no case. The case was dropped. And so I was pissed off. I fucking let them have it, cussed them out, whatever. But I noticed they were all drunk. So the MPs, again, were called, but when they had come and talked to us, they said, oh, we were, sorry, I thought I heard something. They had come up to us and they were starting to question us. And they said, hey, we were called by the CQ, staff duty, that there was corruption going on and a girl had given them and started harassing them. And I had asked them, oh, who, like, how did they describe this person? They said, oh, this, and this, and they were describing me. And I told them, I was like, no, I had never talked to CQ, I never talked to staff duty, but I did start yelling at a few people, but they were definitely not staff duty. Come to find out, the sergeant and his 2 friends were all buddies with whoever was on staff duty and CQ, and the 2 friends and the sergeant, who were all drunk, let me tell you, who were all drunk, called the MPs trying to get us in trouble, saying we violated this. We were underage drinking, which, by the way, none of us were underage, and we were not, like, fucking drunk. We were in our room hanging out. We were not outside of the barracks. We were not doing anything wrong. They had come to us, and they had tried stirring up trouble, getting what they wanted, and they got a reaction, I guess, is what they wanted. So the MPs had said they were going to think about taking me to the station because I had harassed them. I had harassed CQ, which was not true because I never once talked to CQ. It was a fucking sergeant's friends that I had talked to, and it was my own fucking right to yell at them. I'm sorry. But then, at this point, I don't know what they had said about Jacob, but Jacob was getting mad, and I was like, Jacob, I don't want you to get in trouble anymore. So I started walking him downstairs, and I was going to take him to his own barracks. So he can go to his room and he can calm down. Nope, because by the time we got to the bottom of the stairs, the MPs were standing there, and they're like, nope, we need a breathalyzer. And so they said, you guys have been drinking, clearly, this and that. And so they had arrested Jacob because of all this, because of the commotion. Like, it was his fucking fault that this had all happened. I'm sorry, but we were all in a room. We never stepped foot out of that room, ever, until that sergeant came. So I'm sorry that Jacob got upset and wanted to step foot out of the room just to fucking give it to the sergeant again. Because that was fucking wrong. Well, I had told my victim's advocate about it. I had told CID about it. Did he get in trouble? Fuck no. I'm pretty damn sure that the sergeant did not get in trouble at all. And I'm sorry, but they had told me not to let Jacob know. So if Jacob were to do anything to that sergeant, he'd get fucked up and he'd get kicked out of the military. But if the sergeant goes ahead and does it, he doesn't get in trouble at all. He's still to this day, that sergeant is still in the military, still stationed on the same fucking base as me. And he's getting paid the same rank. He's getting the same fucking treatment that he was beforehand. So I'm sorry that I'm a little pissed off that nothing ever fucking happened. But anyways, so yeah, basically that's all that fucking happened. And we're all pissed off about it, whatever. Jacob, finally, his first sergeant had gone and picked him up from the station. So, and all the MPs there at that time, not the ones that had taken him in, but the MPs that were on duty at the actual station, they asked him, because they recognized him, because they arrested him the first time, because they didn't know the situation, but once explained, they were like, that's fucking wrong. So, when they seen him again at the station, they asked him, why are you here? Why are you in handcuffs? Jacob told him, the sergeant was coming back for us, and I was gonna fucking lay it down for him. And they're like, okay, so why are you getting arrested? And the police officer that took him in was like, because of this, this, and this. All the sergeants that seen Jacob and knew him from the prior incident told that officer you're fucking wrong. You need to take those handcuffs off. You need to let him go, because what you did, you don't know what you just got into. Like, you don't know anything about the situation. You don't know anything about what you're dealing with. But anyways, basically, that's what happened last year. And from then until now, nothing has fucking happened. I have been meeting with a therapist because I'm really fucked up in the head, because not knowing what happened is messing with me more than knowing what happened, because I don't know. Like, I don't know what happened to me, and that's what's driving me crazy. And also, bringing up Levi, I got pregnant with Levi, and looking back, and when I found out, I was so torn between, because it was so close to the incident, that I was stuck between it's Jacob's or it's the sergeant's. And that's why the whole pregnancy I was not too thrilled. I was always in the back of my mind, I was pissed off because the sergeant made me not have a bond with my baby. And I know you guys have watched videos where I talk about not having a bond with him. And even to this day, I have not done a DNA test. But for Jacob's sake, I did not when Levi was born, because he doesn't want to know. And still, we don't know. And that fucks with me so bad, because I don't want to know that the sergeant had taken something like that from me. And so I don't want Jacob. Jacob does not want to know. He does not want to see that Levi looks just like the sergeant. He does not want to see any of that. So as of right now, we don't talk about anything like that. We don't talk about who he is. As of now, we say Jacob's the dad. We tell everybody Jacob's the dad. We don't bring it up at all. We don't tell everybody. I don't want to admit to anything that happened. So all my doctors, Jacob's the dad. Everybody knows Jacob is Levi's dad. So it's just stressed out because it kind of took away from my whole pregnancy and even till now. But I was a little bit distracted from being pregnant and then having family here while I was pregnant. And when I had Levi, I was a little bit distracted. But literally right when my maternity leave ended, I was called up by the prosecution team and told, hey, we're going to have court end of May. So that kind of stabbed me a little bit, because it made everything, all of those feelings, every single thought that went through my head, everything that I was dealing with last year is coming all back. I'm a little bit emotional. I don't like dealing with it. Personally, I do not want to see the sergeant. No, I did not see him do it. I did not. No, if I see him, I'm not going to see the incident happening. I'm not going to see anything, because when I see him, or when I imagine me seeing him, the only memories I have of him is just hanging out with him. So it's not that factor. It's the fact that I'm going to have to be in court with this guy that did it to me, and I'm going to have people attack me from the defense team, try to make me look bad, and I have to prove to everybody, no, I don't know what happened to me. And I have to sit there and have that sergeant prove or try to say, I'm a good guy, this didn't happen, and he's going to say all of these things. And I don't want to fight that this happened, because I know what happened. I've never been to court. I'm not too happy about it. So, next month is going to be a little rough. So, and I guess the defense team is trying to get me to accept a Chapter 10, which is basically slapping him on the wrist and kicking him out of the Army. That's it. So it's basically firing him. But he's not going to have any punishment at all besides not being in the military anymore. And that's what they're trying to get me to do, which I think is wrong. I don't want to go to court at all. I do not want to sit there and have everybody look at me, have everybody question me. I don't want to talk about what happened because it breaks me down and I don't know what to do. especially in front of the sergeant, especially with him sitting there the whole entire time. Yes, my mom is coming down, so she will be sitting there looking at me as I'm explaining that this happened to me. I just don't know what happened. I was just there. And it's going to be the worst thing I have ever gone through my entire life. And then they're going to take me out of the room, and then Jacob's going to come in and do his statement. I have already asked for extra security for Jacob, because I don't want him getting in trouble. Out of all things, I do not want him getting in trouble. He does not want to go. He does not want to do a statement, because he wants to kill the sergeant. He does not want he does not want to be in the same room as the sergeant, which I can understand, but in my defense, I rely on everybody's statement because I don't have anything to prove what happened. I personally have to rely on everybody else because everybody else is going to be helping my case. But then come to find out, I have to go to court this Tuesday. And this is where they're going to do the motions hearing. So for some reason, I have to be there, which I had been called a week ago asking, hey, did you want to go? And I said, well, I wouldn't mind, but is the sergeant going to be there? And they said yes. So I said, nope, I don't want anything to do with it. I do not want to be there if he's going to be there. So they said, okay, we'll let them know. Well, then come to find out, I go to work, and they had said, nope, you have to be there. If you do not show up, if you and Jacob do not show up, they will subpoena you, and you will have to, and you will be forced to do it. So, which means I have to get all my dress blues all sorted out because that's what we have to wear. We have to dress up for this fucking sergeant, let me tell you. So, I'm not too thrilled about it. But, anyways, I have to go into court Tuesday, and they're going to question me about my sexual history. And so, they had already told me, hopefully it doesn't go that far, but they've already talked about it, and they've already threatened us and warned us that they're going to bring up my sexual history and mine and Jacob's sexual history in the past, whatever. Okay, I'm sorry, but that doesn't have anything to fucking do with the situation at all. The fact that we were together beforehand, we were together after the fact, we're now married, and we're raising Levi. I'm sorry, but why does that fucking matter? So, basically, we have to go to court Tuesday just to have the judge tell us, oh, this is irrelevant, don't bring it up in court next month. So, I'm a little stressed out because I have an SVC, Special Victims person, whatever. I have a VA, which is a victim's advocate, so I'm going to have two people there. And my SVC is going to be telling me what I can and cannot answer. He's just going to walk me through it all. And he had already told me what's going on. And he had taken me to the courtroom to show me because I've never been to a courtroom. I'd rather see it empty and know what's going on before I walk in there with it full, with everybody there and the fucking sergeant. I want to know where not to look because I do not want to look at the sergeant in his face at all. I don't care to look at him at all. So he did take me in there and I was fine. But then he had told me, this is where you're going to be standing when they swear you in, and this is going to be where you're sitting. Did you want us to take a seat so you can see the view? And that was, to me, I get why he wanted me to do that, but personally, I do not feel the need to sit in a fucking chair when I know what it's about. I know what I'm going to say when I have to sit there. So no, I did not feel comfortable. I did not sit in that chair. But I don't know how big courtrooms are, but to me it felt really small, and I was warned by the major that is on my case that I will feel as if I'm being attacked by the jury, by the defense, and by the judge, because everybody is going to be questioning me, and I'm going to feel as if it's my fault, and all of this, which is going to suck because I don't take it very well when people try to call me out and stuff that's not true, and people try to say things about me that's not true. So if I'm going to have the defense come at me, and they're going to try to prove that I'm an alcoholic and I sleep with everybody. And so I'm not going to take that very well. So this is just me. updating you guys on what's going on. And this is my story. This is what happened to me. It sucks telling people about this. I don't like opening up. But this is why we do not know what's going on with us. Also because I'm in the process of med boarding, because I did try to med board come August. August last year, I tried to med board. And they had pushed it through. Everything was fine. And I tried to med board with PTSD because every morning, I do not like wearing this uniform. The uniform reminds me of what happened. Driving on this base makes me relive what happened. Everything military reminds me that this happened to me. So basically every single day I have a reminder. And the therapist behavioral health that I talked to said that I have a lot of stuck points and I have a lot of triggers. So anything that reminds me of this, it breaks me down. So I do put on a show for everybody. I do act like everything's fine. But at the end of the day, when it's just me by myself, I break down and I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully they do not come back and say that he is not guilty and that everything continues. But I had told them that they are going to turn in. Oh, and by the way, when I did MedBoard, they had called me back and I was waiting on the call to say it's approved or it's not. But they had called me and said, sorry, we forgot you're pregnant. We can't MedBoard females that are pregnant. So I was a little bit pissed off because I had everything planned. I had everything going on. I knew what was happening. But they forgot that I was pregnant. I'm sorry, but when we first started that process, they knew I was pregnant. So I was pissed off. So now, as soon as I got back to work, that day I had met with my therapist and I had met with my doctor and I told them, you guys are going to push in this med board again because I'm not going to sit here and wait. If the med board does not go through, then I'm going to chapter out. There's no way that I want to, once the court date is over, I do not want anything to do with this at all. I do not like the military at all. Not in general, because some people it's for them, some people it's not. But for me, it is my entire military career. My first duty station, it happens a week after I get here. So to me, it's everything. I've always been dealing with this. I've always had this. And I'm that girl that this happened to. So that said, I am now waiting for a phone call. Any day now, hopefully. I will find out if my med board's approved or not. If it is, I will be med boarding. If it's not, then I will be chaptering out because I'm not staying here. All my chain of command knows what the deal is. They know they're gonna back me up for whatever's going on, and they're gonna expedite it, which means they're gonna push it, so it can happen and it can speed everything up as much as possible for me because they want me gone. They don't want me gone, but for my case and for me, they know that I want to be gone like today. So for me, they're gonna push it up and do whatever they can to get me out of here. So that's why Jacob, he did get out of the military, but he's just a stay-at-home mom right now. He's not looking for a job yet because hopefully I will be out soon. So he will then be able to get a job because then we'll be able to go somewhere and live and we can get everything in its place. We can live somewhere. We can whatever. So yeah, we're waiting any day for that med board to go through. So I'm sorry that this is a super long video and I'm not too thrilled about it, obviously, with the topic. But I need to go make dinner. But yeah, this is my story and this is what happened to me. If this is something that's similar to what happened to you, or if you deal with things the same way as me, I understand. It sucks. It really sucks. And it makes me look at myself differently. I came into the military with a huge head on my shoulders, being so confident in myself. I'm going to show everybody I can do it. Very, very confident in myself. Now I'm basically giving up. I know I'm a strong person, but I'm letting this get to me really bad, and talking about it with people sucks. I don't like opening up about it. I don't like going to therapy, but I have to, for my own sake. And I am on antidepressants, which I haven't noticed any difference. But anyways, that's my story. That's what happened to me. This is the longest video I have ever and will ever make. So I'm sorry about that. Thank you for listening though. Thanks.